wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Navigating COVID while protecting yourself can be difficult. Fortunately, there's a hotline you can call with any questions. The Department of Indian Work St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on vaccines, booster shots, and testing sites. Right now, booster shots are available to anyone over the age of 18 for those who are eligible. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline can also help with housing, food, medical, and educational support. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19, vaccinations, booster shots, or testing, please call 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Hey, Ogimaa, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies tonight with a low of 46, Friday sunny with a high near 69, and Saturday sunny with a high around 70. Grab a tray at Cafe Latte's Cafeteria and select from a wide variety of sandwiches, salads, and soups. The bakery features fresh baked breads, cupcakes, and more, while the Pizza and Wine Bar has gourmet pizzas that pair perfectly with their 30-plus wines by the glass. Located off Victoria and Grand at St. Paul or at cafelatte.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous. Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hitting cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. I'm here with Ogimaa, and Wendy's flying to New York at our sister station in New York City, and will be back with us tomorrow. And we talk about Native issues, and Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues. And so this portion is brought to you by the Native American Trading Post downtown Minneapolis, where we support Native artists and mainstreaming Native artists through our stores. So, hey, I want to get going here right away. A lot going on. We had it's MMIW Day here in Minnesota and all over Turtle Island. So I want to get to Ogimaa right away, and then we're going to have Robert Lilligren on later, and we're going to touch a little on the news, and then we got some speeches that I recorded while I was at this event today by the Mississippi on Boom Island. So without any further ado, let's get to Ogimaa with the news.
Hello, Aniju, everybody. I'm Ogimaa. I'm a member of the Red Lake Band of Ojibwe, and I am coming to you on Native Roots Radio. Right now, there's a banner scrolling across the screen, across the bottom of the screen, and it's highly important to protect the Lake Superior and the Lake Superior watershed and water in Minnesota in general. You can call and speak at the hearing in support of the Fond du Lac Band of Chippewa and their sovereign right to oppose the federal mining permit that was given by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to Polymet for a toxic mine that would produce millions of tons of waste rock loaded with acid mine drainage containing carcinogens and heavy metals. This pollution would poison the St. Louis River and flow downstream into Lake Superior. If you want to get your public comment heard by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, you're going to need to call now to get in line to speak in support of the Fond du Lac Band. The number is scrolling across the screen. Again, this is to speak in support of the Fond du Lac Band against Polymet's wetlands mining permit. The dial-in number is 888-251-2949 or 215-861-0694. Access code for both lines is 9646123 pound. So get in line for that if you can. You'll hear it a little bit in the background for me. I'm currently in line to speak. So I'm going to turn it down here a little bit and touch base on a couple of other news items for today. Robert, I know you heard Superman was down at Minneapolis Public Schools at South High starting right about now at about 6 p.m. So congrats to everybody who is down seeing Superman at South High in Minneapolis. And then some pretty interesting events that are coming up here that I have seen is the Longest Walk 5 is taking place. It's a spirit walk for domestic violence awareness. They're walking from Leech Lake to Washington, D.C. The walk began May 1st. And if you would like to support people, they're taking 10 weeks from start to finish, starting at Dennis Banks' home in Sugar Point, Minnesota, and they're walking to the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. If you would like to support those on the Longest Walk 5, you would want to scan Cash App. There's a little Darla Banks, it looks like is the name, or you can look for Longest Walk 5. And speaking of the Spirit Walk for Domestic Violence Awareness, Robert, I know we were talking about today being the National Missing and Murdered Native Women and Girls Awareness Day, although a lot of us say National Missing and Murdered Relatives Day, which is a time where we wear red and we gather to remember and honor and give voice to stories that have not been heard, to those who have been lost. So there has been a ton of events that happened throughout the Twin Cities, right, Robert? And you were at just one of those events today and got to hear some pretty incredible speakers.
Yeah, some familiar people to us. We've had Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan on, State Representative Heather Keeler, and of course, State Representative Heather Keeler and State Senator Mary Kunesh was also speaking today, and we'll have more update from her tomorrow. But yeah, just powerful women, and the women lead the way, and we know that.
Absolutely, yes. And, it just every year when we talk about missing and murdered Indigenous relatives, every year, whether I go to an event or I don't, my heart is just heavy all day long. I'm really tearful, and I feel those feelings, I think, of our relatives all over who have lost somebody or who are missing somebody. So if that is you today and your heart is hurting, I send my deepest prayers and condolences with you. And, we all have got to hold each other up in these hard times.
Definitely. Hey, I'm wondering, Ogimaa, if we could roll in for the Lieutenant Governor's speech today.
Yes, absolutely. If you've got it, let's hear what the Lieutenant Governor of Minnesota had to say today.
Lieutenant Governor Flanagan. Begwitch Nicole. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm really honored and humbled to be here and to be able to spend some time with you and to be able to follow these amazing women who I have watched. I have watched on the floor with Senator and then Representative Kunesh, and have recently watched Representative Keeler stand up on the floor and tell the truth. In a moment where there are folks who are well-meaning, who want to ensure that everyone's viewpoints are heard, that also can be incredibly destructive. And she told the truth about why Indigenous Peoples Day, in its pure form, and people knowing who we are and where we come from, and that we have always been here, she told that truth. And we have your back. So that is what this is all about. That is what today is all about showing up and being visible. The words of that beautiful song were not just a picture of the past. We are here. And we're disrupting these systems every day. And I have to tell you, it weighs heavy on my heart to work in a system that has done so much harm to our people. But I also know that it is needed and necessary that we are there and that we are at those tables. When we think about the task force that was started, it might have felt like a long time, but being introduced and passed in 2019, getting the report, then creating the legislation to create the office, and now that is open and Julie Rudy is hiring staff, that is lightning speed within government. And that happens because Native women are at the table and we get the work done. So this week has been hard. Our body autonomy, our body sovereignty has been called into question. But I will tell you that I know we are ready. We are ready. We are building on the foundations of these successes. We will not go backwards. And we stand here in solidarity together. When I think about when these women walk into a room, all of the people who have loved them into existence come with them. When I tucked my kiddo in this week, she is 9. And she still lets me tuck her in and snuggle her in. Pretty soon, she'll be like, "Get out of here, Mom," and we'll close the door, right? But she'll still hold my hand in public. And when I tucked her in, I gave her a little kiss on her head. And I always say before she goes to sleep, "May the Creator bless you and keep you safe." And I thought about in that moment how we could live in a place where her future, where she is less safe than her mother or her grandmother. And that is unacceptable to me. And I know that it is unacceptable to you. So today may be a day of awareness, and we celebrate this day and we acknowledge this day. But every day we need to be seen and heard and valued and protected and believed. So we were made and loved into this moment. And I am honored and humbled to be your Lieutenant Governor, but more than anything, I am honored to be an Anishinaabe Kwe in this fight with all of you. And Nicole, thank you, Ichimigwich, for everything you do for all of us, for always creating spaces where we can feel welcome, for telling the truth, and for sharing the stories and making sure that those who we've lost or have gone missing will always be remembered. Thank you.
That was Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Minnesota, Peggy Flanagan, and during the MMIW speech today. We have more of that coming up, but we also have Robert Lilligren showing up here, and it's just a great day to be a Native American in the United States. We're still here. We are the 7th generation. And there's Ogimaa with her baby. It doesn't get any better than that. Hey, you're listening to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and we'll be right back after this short break. We're still here. We are the 7th generation.
Unwanted sexting or photos, inappropriate jokes, even tickling or wrestling can feel like a violation. Catcalling, cornering, or groping, getting them drunk or high for sex, recording sexual acts without permission, hurting someone because of their sexual orientation, raping a family member, a child, a date, a friend, a stranger, purchasing a human being for sex, You make the choice every single time. Sexual violence is many things. Make a choice. Do not do it.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, Ogimaa, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Life is a journey, and the Doherty Family College will help you get where you want to go. Located downtown Minneapolis, this affordable 2-year college provides free textbooks, a laptop, meals, career coaches, one-on-one mentorship, and a Metro Transit pass, making DFC the perfect pathway to a bachelor's degree. Turn your dreams into reality. Connect with a counselor today at dfc.stthomas.edu.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, Wendy Pilot at our mother station in New York. Well, good to see you. How was the flight? How's the weather?
The flight was great. I got in, I put my groceries away, and I logged on, and here I am.
Oh, that's awesome. And I really like that shirt you have on from, I don't remember who the artist was, but it's from the Smithsonian.
Yeah, we went there the last time you were here, the Smithsonian Native American Art Institute here in New York City. So yeah, that's where I got this t-shirt.
Cool. Hey, we're trying to get Robert Lilligren on here. I saw him earlier today. I was down, as you know, Wendy, down at Boone Island, and saw Heather Keeler speak, Mary Kunis speak, and our Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Minnesota, Peggy Flanagan. So it was a good day to be Indigenous, as
exactly. So you were at the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Day here in Minnesota, which is May 5th.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And look who's here, Wendy. Now you can relax. Wendy just jumped on real quick, hey, Robert.
Miigwech, Wendy.
Miigwech.
Oh, no, you say Peeny-Gigi, Wendy.
I say Peeny-Gigi, yes.
Wendy.
Peeny-Gigi.
See, I'm multicultural.
Exactly.
Right on. Hey, we're here with Robert Lilligren, and we touch base with Robert once a week, and just to talk about things that are happening around the Twin Cities and also nationally, native-wise, and just generally speaking-wise. And we've been, Wendy was able to interview Peggy Flanagan on that first day, we finding out what was going on with women's rights. A very harsh day for us here. And Peggy's always so generous with her time. And I got to see her today. And of course, I had to get a picture with her and the other senator and representative for my.
I hope you didn't injure anybody elbowing your way up to get your photos with the Ogimaas there.
And handing out
a few bruises and
handing out cards with my legislative cards. I'm a new person today, right? So yeah. It was a good photo op, but they're all really cool, and of course they've been on the show many times, and we support them. But it was great seeing you, Robert.
Yeah, it was great seeing you there. I saw you on Monday as well at the Indian Month kickoff. For folks who aren't Minnesota-based, it's Indian Month, May, here in Minnesota. It was a big initiative of AIM, the American Indian Movement, to get this month recognized. And so people are really doing it up, man. I will say, after a 2-year hiatus, there's such a full calendar of events. It's really amazing. And in today's missing and murdered Indigenous women and relatives, it's national, right? Isn't this a national?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the Lieutenant Governor, Peggy Flanagan, my whiter sister, her words were so passionate, and you could just see how moved she was. And all of the speakers, this is our trauma we're talking about, right? But it was really a beautiful, beautiful event.
Yeah, we played Peggy at the end of the first segment, the recording, and just what she always has to say. She is such a good speaker, and then putting it all together, especially with what happened, late Sunday night into Monday, how they are ready to fight, and they're going to fight for her daughter in the next 7 generations because of this law. Really, just to coin kind of what she said, is that her mother and her have not had to deal with this, and why are we going backwards with her daughter?
Right. Yeah, that was really powerful. So yeah, and I'm sure you've talked through this and talked it out, but it's just such a shocking moment in this country. And when people's rights are under attack, women's rights are under attack, everyone's rights, really. And so now we need to get ready for a new fight, right? One that we really haven't had for 50 years. So this is going to be interesting.
Well, it's going to ignite us again, and I think it always gets the darkest before sunrise, and that's pretty dark. And I think it's going to ignite our base, and because we outnumber them, Robert.
Right. I mean, that's what's so interesting about this whole conversation, is that the public, the American public, is clear. Something like 80% of American people think that access to health care, access to abortion should be legal. I mean, that's huge. 80% of Americans don't agree on anything,
Right.
So I don't really quite get this judicial perspective, and then the partisan movements that put those justices in place. I mean, it's a long-term strategy, long-term plan that seems to be yielding now. And so we need to be as deliberate, right? We need to be as long-term. If we're going to live in a post-Roe world, what's the long game look like?
Right. And I think the Republicans have figured that out, because, I mean, you talk to people that don't know this, like you and I are roughly the same age, that, when we were in high school in the 70s and even the early 80s, unions were huge.
Right.
I mean, they're down to 20%, and I think the country was almost 60% unions even back then. And then the Reagan administration deregulated everything, and it's been a long, long trip, and here we go.
Yep, here we go. And as we all know, this is a pivotal election year, 2022. This is where we can start to mobilize and start to shift the long-term trajectory, right, through changing elections. I was just watching a little coverage on this from Planned Parenthood just before I came on here, and I know that the Senate, Majority Leader Schumer will bring and I'm not going to get the name of this legislation right, but it's something like the Women's Right to Healthcare Access Act or something, will be brought up before the Senate. So folks will have to vote and go on record, and then that'll kind of give us a starting point, right? Here's where we're at. So, but yeah, the CEO of Planned Parenthood was saying this is the year to get involved in direct action democracy. Vote.
Yeah, Robert, too, I'm really concerned in that the last 2 Supreme Court justices lied under oath about this bill specifically. I mean, what the heck?
Well, it's more than the last 2, right? I mean, that whole majority, I think, were asked about this. I just saw a clip on one of the late night talk shows where they had the majority of the ones who are allegedly going to support this repeal on the Supreme Court, every one of them said some version of this is established law and does not need to be revisited. Every one of those 5 said it. So it's not just the last ones that are lying. They were all lying. And I think, Robert, you really, hit the nail on the head. Is it okay for Supreme Court justices to lie during a confirmation hearing? Are confirmation hearings even relevant anymore? If it's going to be a bunch of folks sitting there saying whatever they need to say to get the appointment. It's easy
like that last one said, do you like beer? I like beer. Or no, that was
beer.
You want to slap in the face to Amy Klobuchar because her father was a recovering alcoholic and struggled many years out as a writer for the Minneapolis paper, and that what a slap in the face that was.
Total. And so yeah, these are interesting times. It's one more of our institutions that's really under attack, where the foundations are being sort of chiseled away, and so this is a concern for all of us.
Yeah, definitely. Robert, we're just getting rolling here. You got time for another segment?
Yeah, of course, love to.
Absolutely. Hey,
oh my gosh, was that Ogimaa's baby that I just saw there? Oh my goodness gracious!
Oh, Ogimaa, it looks just like you.
Oh my gosh, my heart's melting.
Oh,
great to see you too, Ogimaa.
Watch it said, hey, you're listening to Native. Oh, he's waving. She's waving. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake and Back with Robert Lilligren and Wendy and Ogimaa and the little baby. We'll be right back.
Stay with us.
Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to J. Selby's on 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul? They have a delicious plant-based menu that's compassionate and environmentally sustainable.
I'm getting their spot-on vegan Big Mac, the dirty secret.
You can pick up and they deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222-3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me, Wen. Let's go order at J. Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry.
Life is a journey, and the Doherty Family College will help you get where you want to go. Located downtown Minneapolis, this affordable 2-year college provides free textbooks, a laptop, meals, career coaches, one-on-one mentorship, and a Metro Transit pass, making DFC the perfect pathway to a bachelor's degree. Turn your dreams into reality. Connect with a counselor today at dfc.stthomas.edu.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Minneapolis Public Schools have a variety of positions available to help you start your career in education, and they want to hire you. You can work in the classroom as a teacher or a classroom support, or you can work outside the classroom as a bus driver, in the Culinary Wellness Center, or as a custodian helping keep the building safe and sanitized. Multicultural candidates are strongly encouraged to apply. Start your career in education and apply today. jobs.minneapolis.k12.mn.us.
Located just north of 50th and France, the Great Wall Restaurant has provided a delicious taste of authentic Chinese cuisine since 1981. Specializing in Szechuan and Peking dishes, they offer one of the most extensive menus in the Twin Cities. Favorites include hot and sour soup, pan-fried dumplings, and mushu pork with homemade Chinese pancakes. Stop by their Edina location or call for takeout at 952-927-4439. See the full menu at greatwallrestaurant.us.
Hi, Minneapolis. This is Randy Rhodes. Listen to me. Weeknights, 10 to midnight, AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Navigating COVID while protecting yourself can be difficult. Fortunately, there's a hotline you can call with any questions. The Department of Indian Work St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on vaccines, booster shots, and testing sites. Right now, booster shots are available to anyone over the age of 18 for those who are eligible. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline can also help with housing, food, medical, and educational support. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19, vaccinations, booster shots, or testing, please call 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies tonight with a low of 46, Friday sunny with a high near 69, and Saturday sunny with a high around 70.
Don't waste hours figuring out how to pick up and assemble your own grill. Leave it to the specialists at Warner Stellian. Choose from the hottest new grills. Then don't pay a penny more for professional assembly, delivery, or haul away. Shop now at warnerstellian.com.
You're listening to Native Roots Radio. This is Spirit from Reservation Dogs. Get up and listen.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by MN350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice.
It's crazy, Robert. We have the whole team here, plus a new employee there, a little baby. Ogimaa, can you give out her name again? People have been asking online here.
Yeah, this is Nova Lee. She's about 8 weeks old. People are saying she looks like a tiny version of me.
She does.
She's pretty
so
cute.
Put her on big screen, Robert, for those watching. For those watching us on Facebook, she is just a little darling. Oh my goodness, Nova Lee!
Wendy's working.
If I lived closer, that baby would be in my arms right now.
She is pretty outgoing, shall we say. She's pretty easy to transfer, which is nice. But today my partner just happens to not be home, so she's hanging out with me while I'm working this evening.
Lovely. So beautiful.
Well, heck. Now let's back to the regular scheduled show. We're with Robert Lilligren, NACDI, and White Earth Ojibwe, and we talk each week about what's going on nationally and locally. And it seems like it's I don't know any better way to say it, but it seems like it's powwow season coming up. There's a lot of things happening all of a sudden.
Lots of things. And powwow season, of course, in Minnesota, it's American Indian Month. If folks are looking for a calendar of events or something like that, we have a Facebook calendar, 2022 American Indian Month in Minnesota, that we're having people just sort of park their events. And there's so much going on.
Yeah, I know tonight during our show right now, I think out in a suburb of Minneapolis, Superman, the talented rapper, singer, dancer, native, he's in town. That's an amazing at a get together, and I can't remember what school. Ogimaa brought it up, but I don't know. I might try and run out there and see him.
Cool. Yeah. And where else are you headed? I've seen that you've been on the road a little bit, right? And
yeah, I got back from the gatherings. I was stuck in LA airport, and that's a whole nother. You'll listen to that on my podcast. Everyone was going, "Oh, you look tired," but it was like, oh, the gatherings. There were so many people gathering too, which is amazing, Robert. I just got to throw this out at you too. It's like we flew. I think I flew to New York and then came back, and I'd say, 30% of the people had masks on. Because the mask lift by the time, and then I went to Albuquerque, New Mexico via LA, and like 10% of the people had a mask on. It's crazy. I'm lucky I don't have COVID.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, I was just up at Division of Indian Works here, one of our local native orgs that provides youth services, and meeting with some city officials and stuff. And of course, there's always something urgent going on. And but they still require masks, which I liked, so that everyone in the room was masked. And I mask up pretty much wherever I go, just because I'm old and fat and at too much. Even though I'm double boosted, I'm still at too much risk, I think. So
Right. I'm double boosted too. I ran into somebody today, and I wish I could remember who it was, but had COVID 3 times. I think she was, one of the state reps that was with, Heather Keeler,
okay.
and she had it. She's been double boost, but she got it just before her boost was running out each time, which I
Wow.
never heard any of that before, but that was really
3
interesting.
is a lot. Yeah, the booster shots kind of kick my butt. I mean, they feel like I'm having COVID anyway. My second booster just what knocked me out. It really did. And
Wow.
but I can't imagine having a thing. We have 2 people on our staff at NACDI right now that just tested positive. One tested positive in the office. So it's
Oh,
like,
gee.
okay, everybody out. We're not coming back here for a while.
It's crazy. Well, you've been gone on PTO off our show for a couple weeks, and
Yeah.
Wendy had COVID in New York, if you remember.
Oh,
I don't
right, right. How are you doing now, Wendy?
Oh, I'm doing great. I had
Good.
COVID a month ago. It was funny because I tested negative on a Wednesday, and then I was feeling cruddy like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just off. I just didn't feel right. I was like
Wow.
really, really tired. I felt a little feverish. I felt really, really tired. And then I was to fly out on Monday, late afternoon.
Sure.
And Monday morning, I woke up. Like woke me up at 6 o'clock in the morning. That's how bad I felt. I tested right away, and it was positive.
Wow.
So then I had to stay out here for another 10 days because then I couldn't get on the plane.
Sure. Sure.
I
Yeah.
mean, not only your
So
health, Robert, but the house was trashed by then, and I had to get, help to come in and
Yeah,
clean.
that's what you're saying. Yeah.
Robert Pilot could only be left alone in the house for a short time. And if after a
Understandable.
certain point, there's a point of no return.
No.
We bring in the big guns to help me, clean up. So, what do we got going? What's going on in the Avenue? What do you hear? What do you hear on Franklin? Anything coming up in all my relations and your groups? And I know you're on a plethora of stuff, and the significance too that you've talked about in the past about the Mississippi River and the group that you're working with the Mississippi River too.
Right. Lots going on down there. So folks know the Mississippi River runs right through Minneapolis, St. Paul. It's kind of the boundary in some spots. But of course, this is Dakota land and some of the most sacred Dakota land there is. And so there's so much within even the 2 cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul that's happening right along the river, that's sort of reclaiming heritage, sort of a sense of sort of land back, these different projects that are trying to sort of heal the scars and the wounds of these incredible infrastructure pieces or pieces of colonized development and industrialization that just destroyed them. And we all know we can't go back, but we can go forward in a better way. And so the organization I work for is involved really closely. We're involved in a number of them, but in one we're trying to shape a different way of engaging Native people, right? So this is not sovereign land, but it is Dakota land. And so how do you bring these voices in so they actually have authority over the decisions that are being made, over the resources there, over the history. And it's really granular and nutsy boltsy, and you've got everything from the federal government to the local government kind of on top of you. But we're making progress, man. More and more people are really buying into this. Other jurisdictions of government are really interested in what we're doing here because we're doing it in such a different way. And really where we started after engaging Dakota community, Dakota elders, Dakota elected representatives, creating what's called the Native Partnership Council. We got to sort of a starting point, which is, essentially water is life. The river is a living thing, a relative, and we need to start from there. Everybody needs to agree. and start from that point. And it's happening, man. It's really happening. And we'll see how far we get. We've already hit a few walls, and I'm sure we'll hit more. But for me at this point in my life, it's very rewarding work. I've never seen anything like it.
Right. And all the cooperation between us and Native people too. Robert, one of the things, I don't know if you were still there because I kind of lost you at the Boom Island today, but I think what Heather Keeler said, or was it Heather or was it Mary Kunish said how much and how things have moved quickly with the MMIW group and how fast our women and our leaders can make things happen.
Right. That was Senator Kunish, formerly Representative Kunish, Mary Kunish. And Senator Kunish led the charge when she was a state representative to establish the Office of Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, to get it funded, or relatives now. And now it's staffing up, and it is unprecedented. It is the first in the country state office to focus on initiatives of missing and murdered Indigenous women. And she was saying that, she said that in her remarks, and we were having a few chit-chatty comments before then, and she was saying, and I agree, when she helped pass that 5 years ago, she didn't know where it would go, and now that there's an office set up, there's funding, there's staffs, we can start measuring progress, gathering data. As far as she said today in her remarks at the event, for government standards, that's like lightning speed.
Yep.
To move that quickly.
Yeah, definitely. And I think our community does that too, but I really like what she said about with Native women leading the way, and that's way things really get going.
Truly. And you saw it today. I mean, all of those, not just the elected leadership, and there was our lieutenant governors, state senators, state reps, but also just the community leadership that's stepped up. Minnesota Indian Women Sexual Assault Coalition, and the others that were there. It's to say it was mostly women, and for me, it was great to be in that place. And it was such a beautiful place, right? Boom Island. It's in the Mississippi. Those beautiful painted teepees that were set up there.
Yeah.
It was just stunning. It feels so good to be back in community.
And the energy, every time I talked to Lieutenant Governor, I was thanking her because Wendy ran out there and interviewed her for Monday when she was leading a rally. Just the positive energy from her and also everybody that was there today. But I just want to say, especially her, I know you've been friends with her for many years, and it's just, I don't know if I've ever seen her crabby at all, but she is just so positive, and I thanked her, for, speaking to Wendy that day, and it was like, no problem. We all know each other, and it was just awesome.
Yeah, and you can tell every time I see her, and I do know her pretty well, and I've seen her crabby. I mean, who wouldn't be sometimes, but I agree in her public persona. I mean, she gets passionate. She was very emotional today, but she does frame things in a positive way. She's very asset oriented, and she's just so real, right? But I can always tell that she is happiest. This is me saying it, not her. But when she's in a group of Native folks, she just has sort of a special little glow going there. And that's good for her, right? We have these elected officials under so many pressures. The community needs to be there to support them, to lift them up, to appreciate them.
Well, if we didn't have her and our other lawmakers, a lot of these things that are happening good in Indian country in Minnesota would not be happening. That's just saying right now. Hey, thanks, Robert. Really appreciate it. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we're with the director of the Native American Community Development Institute. We'll be right back.
Stay with us.
Hey, Ogimaa, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Things may be getting better, but COVID is still around. Stay healthy and up to date on your COVID vaccinations and boosters. Right now, everyone 5 and older is eligible to get a vaccination, while everyone 12 and up is eligible for their booster shot. Plus, you're eligible for a second booster if you're over 50 or received an initial booster dose at least 4 months ago. Getting boosted increases your protection against severe disease from COVID-19. Find a vaccination site by calling 651-304-9986.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Minneapolis Public Schools have a variety of positions available to help you start your career in education, and they want to hire you. You can work in the classroom as a teacher or a classroom support, or you can work outside the classroom as a bus driver, in the Culinary Wellness Center, or as a custodian helping keep the building safe and sanitized. Multicultural candidates are strongly encouraged to apply. Start your career in education and apply today. jobs.minneapolis.k12.mn.us.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
That was a good one. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Hey, I'm wondering if we could play, just to start off right away to make sure we have enough time, we could play Heather Keeler's speech today. Very poignant speech today. And then we'll come back and just chat it out at the end. And I know, Wendy, you were traveling, so you don't have a native animal section here, but we just howled, so I feel pretty good. Is that good with everyone?
Sounds great. Sounds great.
Let's do it here. I'm going to hit play, and then I'm slowly going to creep up on the audio. I think she's being introduced right now.
And, you're always showing up and, will text me and say, hey, what are we doing for this day? So Equich for being here. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I want to start understanding and apologizing for the fact that I don't lead with language. I am a product of boarding schools through and through, so it is something that I am working on. My name is Heather Keeler. I represent District 4A, which is Moorhead. I tell everybody I'm the resident Indigenous queer legislator from Greater Minnesota, and we're needed, right? So I want to kind of share the story of how I even got here. 4 years ago, I sat in classrooms as a Native American liaison in the Moorhead School District. Because I absolutely love our kids. I love being an example for what our kids can be. And I remember sitting in the classroom telling my students when, at the time, Representative Kunesh started talking about a Murdered and Missing Indigenous Women's Task Force. And it was like this eye-opening moment that people in a system that was designed to exterminate us, which is the government, was actually talking about how to protect us. And it was a really eye-opening moment for me. And I asked my kids to get involved, and I talked to them over and over and over about there are issues that impact our communities through and through for generations. And I believe that happened because we weren't at the table making decisions. We weren't at the table educating our colleagues on why these things are important. And then Lieutenant Governor Flanagan ran. And I remember thinking like, wow, these women are so courageous. And I kept going back to my kids and saying, you all can grow up and do these things. And then my seat came open in my own community. And the words I had been using to my kids came back to me and said, Ms. Heather, you kept telling us like, you can be courageous, you can do these things. And a bunch of white men, like they do, step up and decided that they were going to run for that seat. And I decided it scares me to do this work, but it scares me more that when we're not at the table, what's happening to our children. So I made the choice to step up and run, and it was challenging the entire way, but I know that the Creator put me here to use my voice in a powerful way. Every report card I had from kindergarten through 12th grade said Heather talks too much, and now I've decided to put that to good use. And so it's not only the bills that we're doing here. The number 4 is extremely powerful to me, and I think many of you, and we sit here with 4 powerful Indigenous women at the table. Jamie Becker, Finn, and I are in the House. Mary Kunish is in the Senate, and we have a lieutenant governor who is in the governor's office. So collectively, together, we're not only doing offense to make sure that we can set up things like this office. We're doing massive defense to make sure that these policies and systems don't continue to create us down a path of genocide. And I call that out all the time. This morning alone, we had almost 50 legislators, both House and Senate, have a legislators walk with us. And we called them up. And we called them up to understand that the 4 of us aren't always at those tables, that it is allyship that helps us protect our next generations. So we are here actively working. We sit and stand on the House and Senate floor and have really, really hard conversations to educate not only our other members, but the next generation to know that we are fighting for you. It is scary, and I cry a lot in this work, but I know that it is impactful for generations that we don't even know yet. One of the areas that we know is that as foster care, I'm a licensed ICWA home, and we're number 1 in the nation for removal of our Indigenous kids. 17-1, y'all, 17-1. We have massive rates of homelessness and unsheltered youth in this state, and all of those things lead to vulnerable populations, which then we know impact us at greater rates when it comes to violence. So we are here doing the work, but we don't want to do this work alone. So continue to inspire the Indigenous groups in your community, the Indigenous leaders that you see, and ask them to step up. Ask them to join us in these spaces, because it is powerful when we come together and do this work. Thank you. Pilame.
Oh, wow. Wow, that was State Representative Heather Keeler earlier today. Pretty inspiring, huh, Wendy?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Very inspiring. You know, this is something that hits her heart and a lot of our hearts. So I'm, happy that she's there to speak for everybody. She's a great speaker, and she has a great way of spreading the word.
Yeah, Ogimaa, a young person like you getting fired up listening to this.
I am, and I think something that's important that she pointed out when we talk about missing and murdered Indigenous relatives. Don't worry, my mom's here. The baby's not crying on her own. If you can hear her crying, my mom's here. But the important thing she brought up that Indigenous children are taken from their homes and put into the foster care system at a rate of 17-1. So missing and murdered Indigenous relatives looks different. Sometimes we have relatives that are missing from us, not because they've simply gone missing, but because they've been taken from us by a system that is not set up to support us. And I think that's a really important thing to draw from that speech that Heather made.
Yeah, that is a really good point. As being a adoptee too, we don't really talk about that a lot, but basically I was missing too. But I happened to be one of the few that came back and were able to come back to the community, and that's part of a long, not only story, but I guess a chapter of ICWA and the Removal Act and all these things that have happened to our community over the past 500 years, but especially recently with the schools and the murders of our students. And one of the things that she said too in the beginning was that she's a product of these schools because she doesn't know her own language, and that always hits home with me because it's hard to learn a language that when you're old, and we need to have our young ones learn it. And Ogimaa, I know you've been working hard on Ojibwe.
You know, I do what I can, and I'm still not brave enough in my heart to introduce myself on air in my native language. I'm just still not comfortable with it. It's taken me a really long time to even just get comfortable introducing myself, and researching enough about my family history to know who my ancestors were to put them into that introduction as well. And if you know anything about the Ojibwe language, it's quite lengthy. So with my short amount of time on the radio, I'm not sure I could fit my full introduction in every day without taking away from the news. So I
Right,
do have a little
definitely.
bit of an excuse there.
Well, Hani G Hani is Wendy's name given to her by my uncle, my choka, Curtis, and I'm Wakunja Hade, which means distant thunder. And I can introduce myself, and I remember one time we had a guest, Donna, on years ago who introduced herself in her language, introduced her kids and her parents and what clan she was in. It was truly unbelievable to hear. It really was. Well, it's a great day. Good. I'm glad, Wendy, you made it to New York safe. We'll be talking to you soon. Ogimaa, you're back. You're back. You got the baby helping you. That's great. And shout out to um, Robert Lilligren. Always great to talk to Robert. And it's a great day to be a Native American as it is every day. We're still here. We are the seventh generation.
Free Leonard Peltier. Stop line 3. Please get vaccinated and boosted and double boosted.
Nightingale is your cozy, comfortable neighborhood restaurant in the Whittier neighborhood at 20